The trading week is starting off quite positively and with a lot of promise for Bitcoin. Today I'll go over an alternative scenario to what I covered in the previous video, namely a scenario where the downward corrective move is cancelled and the price moves toward higher and higher targets directly from current levels. The Bitcoin week is starting, not exactly in a completely positive way, but in the current reality, where we're essentially not seeing any strong volatile moves. Even that can be considered a positive. The absence of clear negativity is already a positive sign. Let me briefly remind you what I mentioned earlier. We have from below a range between $104.5 thousand and $103,000 and a range between $102,800 and $101.5 thousand. Two untraded imbalances and something like trend liquidity, which has accumulated right behind these two imbalances. Historically, when there is equal liquidation pressure both above and below, both long and short, the price can move with equal probability either upward or downward. That's why this is exactly the kind of scenario that needs to be examined under a microscope. So we have liquidation levels within this range, and on the chart, this aligns with two unfilled imbalances collected by trend liquidity. I also marked the taken local high. With these two candles, we took out the previous high, and after that we possibly drew a potential false breakout. Here there's only a partially filled candle which created an imbalance, and possibly the scenario where we move slightly higher, namely into the area of 108,300, may be the first step before price moves into the area of $103.5 thousand. We'll collect some long-sided liquidity, close out this imbalance, and in that case a drop would be easier. But what if we're actually observing a fundamentally different scenario for Bitcoin's price development? And right now we're seeing, again, something similar to what we saw at the $15,000 level and at the $40,000 level. When the move, well, to be more precise, let me clarify, at $15,000 we made that move and left unfilled imbalances. Let me double check that now. Yes, I meant the imbalances on these particular levels. If we look at the imbalances from 2023, only the one at $19,500 was filled. One of the signs that the price could drop to 105,000 directly from current levels is a break below the low at 106,400. But in the current situation and considering the current geopolitical state of the world, even a potentially bullish structure needs to be approached with a certain degree of skepticism. On the positive side, we took out that low, formed a good imbalance, bounced off that level with this candle and filled the imbalance before the next upward move. And how this is structured in terms of liquidity levels and liquidity clusters. First, the Fear and Greed Index is at 66, a bit different from the previous video, where it was 65. On the 24-hour chart, the liquidity cluster of $109.5 thousand is the most visually prominent. To better understand where the nearest more or less significant liquidity cluster is from below, we need to look at the weekly time frame. And on the weekly time frame, it's exactly 106,200, a fairly significant zone in terms of density. On the liquidation map, over the next couple of $1,000 on Bitcoin, both to the long side and to the short, there's roughly the same amount of liquidations. Yes, slightly more for longs. And down to $103,000, exactly what we've discussed, there's something to be taken. We significantly increase the probability of a corrective move by forming another structure here, let's say, and the likelihood of price being pulled into this zone becomes very high. And traditionally, the fuel for that comes in the form of people who, as usual, decide that entering a long at the all-time high is a good idea. Structurally, the entire range is centered around the $105,000 area. And if we didn't have those two imbalances, this level alone could serve as an excellent zone for looking for a long position from here. As for Ethereum, the situation looks like this. Price has drawn something like a sideways range, and this might be a partial filling of the imbalance and a false breakout from that range, because as we see, this range is fairly well protected. And here we're taking that liquidity, filling the imbalance as much as possible and drawing a new upward structure similar to Bitcoin while leaving imbalances unfilled. The targets for Ethereum are very ambitious in any case, especially in the long term. Locally, I expect the removal of the 2900 level by that previous high, so hit that subscribe button. I regularly post detailed views on the upcoming Bitcoin price movements. Make sure to do that so you don't miss anything. See you in the next video.